What's up, guys? Trill here, better known as Budget Bill, and this is your second stimulus check update and stimulus package update for Tuesday, October the 13th. I hope you guys and gals have had a great day so far. So today we want to talk about the letter that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrote to her colleagues and how some of the Democrats are calling for Pelosi to just take the deal that's on the table. And we also want to talk about the new bill to be voted on next week by the Senate that's worth $500 billion. So be sure to watch the video until the end. Those are just some of the topics that we are going to cover today, but before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on the latest second stimulus check updates. Also, click the notification bell so you won't miss any of those videos that come out. Also, be sure to hit the like button if you think that Congress should get off their ass, pass this bill, and send you your stimulus checks. Last week, President Trump called an end to the stimulus negotiations because he saw that they were getting nowhere with the discussions and Trump was just plain sick of it. He said to stop the negotiation until after the election, and after he wins the presidential election, he will immediately pass a stimulus bill and send out stimulus checks to the American people. Then, fast forward to several hours later, in which he actually reversed his statement to end the negotiations. He then tweeted with an option for Congress to send him a standalone bill that would send $1,200 stimulus checks immediately to Americans while holding off on all other things such as unemployment assistance, hazard pay, state and local government funding, and funding for the Paycheck Protection Program. Then late last week, the White House increased their initial offer of $1.6 trillion to a price tag of $1.8 trillion. This offer was shot down by Nancy Pelosi once again. Nancy says that President Trump's new offer on the table of $1.8 trillion was grossly inadequate. She actually wrote a letter to her Democratic colleagues to explain why she is refusing to accept the latest offer on the table by the White House. And we have this letter right here. We want to go over it briefly of what Nancy Pelosi stated in this letter. So real quick, Nancy talked about how there are over 54,000 new cases of the virus that were reported here recently. And this is the fourth day of over 50,000 new cases per day. She goes on to say that this past week that the president demonstrated very clearly that he has not taken the war against the virus seriously, personally, or nationally. This attitude is reflected in the grossly inadequate response we finally received from the administration on Saturday. We have other differences in terms of who benefits from the spending, but in terms of addressing testing, tracing, and treatment, what the Trump administration has offered is wholly insufficient. We cannot safely reopen schools, the economy, and our communities until we crush the virus with the science-based national plan for testing, tracing, treatment, and isolation, and for the ethical distribution of a safe and effective vaccine. The strategic plan is contained in the HEROES Act, which includes $75 billion to fund the crucial work that we need. And therefore, unfortunately, the Trump administration's proposal does not meet the health needs of this crisis. And then she goes on to list several bullet points that I'll just briefly go over here, which is the first one, which is total funding. The administration has offered what seems to be about $45 billion in new money, which is only about 60% of what is needed, according to medical experts. Then she goes on the bullet point, which is regarding testing. It delays funding to states unless they enter into compacts that require legislative action by each participating state. And then she talks about the territories and tribal communities, that the Trump plan offers no support for territories and very minimal support for tribes and communities of color, that it offers nothing to address the impact on communities of color, which is the black and brown communities. And also on the national plan, the Trump administration has no national plan for testing, tracing, and treatment. However, I remain hopeful that the White House will join us to work towards a relief package that addresses the health and economic crisis facing America's family, and will do so very soon. So that's kind of an overview of what her letter was towards that she sent to the Democratic colleagues of hers. And then in a response from Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, they wrote a letter in response to it. And we'll just go over that briefly as well. Steve Mnuchin said that when COVID-19 was forced the shutdown of the economy, we worked very quickly with the Senate and the House to pass unprecedented legislation to help the economy. We are very proud that the party politics was put aside and that the Senate passed two important bills, 96-0 and 100-0. The House also passed with an overwhelmingly bipartisan support, and President Trump signed them into law. This was a true example of us working together to help American workers and businesses that were impacted by the pandemic. As a result of this, legislation and the economy rebounded quickly, and we did not experience an economic disaster similar to the Great Depression. Certain parts of the economy are still in need of additional support, and our job is not done until we get everyone back to work. Then they go on to talk about over the last few months, we have tried to work on a bipartisan basis to pass additional legislation. We have offered many different proposals in an effort to pass bipartisan legislation. We have both been available to speak to members of both parties as well as bipartisan groups. The president is still available to speak as well. The House has passed two separate partisan bills instead of compromising with us on bipartisan legislation like we have done in the past. We will continue to try to work with Speaker Pelosi and Senator Schumer. It is not just about the top line number, but also about legislation that can be passed by both the House and the Senate and signed into law by President Trump to help the American people. Steve Mnuchin said that now is the time for us to come together and immediately vote on a bill to allow us to spend the unused Paycheck Protection Program funds while we continue to work towards a comprehensive package. The all or nothing approach is an unacceptable response to the American people. So that right there is the response to Nancy Pelosi. And now the House Democrats are getting very frustrated with Nancy Pelosi, and they have been urging her to just accept the offer that is on the table by President Trump of $1.8 trillion. They are saying that this offer is plenty of money for the American people. Some people are actually trying to get Pelosi removed as the House Speaker, as they don't feel that she is doing a great job at this time. She promised them a bill to be voted on back in June or July, and nothing has been done as we are entering in the middle of October with the election just right around the corner. So that's what we have right now. But earlier today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell stated that they are no longer going to wait on the House Democrats to come with a compromise. He said it makes no sense to continue to block the job-saving funding for the Paycheck Protection Program while other negotiations continue. He said when the Senate returns on October the 19th, the first order of business will be to vote on a smaller bill that will offer relief for American workers, including new funding for the PPP or the Paycheck Protection Program. He said, we will have time to pass this before the pending Supreme Court nomination unless the Democrats block this as well. I believe this bill is expected to be about $500 billion. So, once again, it seems like the negotiations aren't going anywhere, and the White House has their own plans to continue on with helping the American people without waiting on the House Democrats. We will continue to follow up on these details as they happen. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoy or find value in these videos, please do me a favor. Be sure to click the like button because it helps out the channel and it tells YouTube to share this video with others. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be a part of it because it's totally free. Other than that, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching this video, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.